Welcome back to Recap Machine. Today I will show you a film where a politician doesn't lie. Enjoy the recap. Inspired by his grandmother Kim Aki's huge donation to society and constant will to always help the little guy, Yeo Sang-suk fought a massive insurance company due to a fine print in the contract that wouldn't cover Aki's cancer treatment. Afterward, she founded the Aki Foundation to help students and eventually made it to Congress with her grandmother's encouragement before she died. Nowadays, Sang-suk is running for the fourth time. She has a team full of experts that take care of every single detail, keeping an eye on what sector of the townspeople they need to win over next. Her main assistant and planner behind all is Park Hee-chul, who remembers even the smallest details, like stepping on her feet to make the shoes look more worn. Everything about Sang-suk's image has been carefully chosen, and she changes her outfit and commentary accordingly to please every person she visits throughout the day, from the civilians on the streets to religious leaders. When reporters ask her tricky questions, she chooses to stay silent. Today she'll appear on TV to debate against her campaign opponents Nam Yong-sung and Shin Jae-soon. When Yong-sung makes her awkward questions about shady financial dealings with the Aki Foundation and her son's dual citizenship issue, Sang-suk quickly turns it around by mentioning rumors about him making money on stocks and clarifying she just lives in a small apartment built on the trust and values left by her grandmother. As soon as she mentions her, she pretends to become emotional and be hurt by Yong-sung's accusations. After the interview is over and they're gone, the show's reporter Kim Jun-young asks the director, Cha Yun-kyung, how come nobody digs deeper into Sang-suk's financial dealings, and Yun-kyung tells him to drop the subject because there's nothing he can do after 6 years. Meanwhile, Sang-suk goes to a restaurant to have dinner with Yong-sung and important politician Kim Sang-pyo. Yong-sung is whining because Sang-suk embarrassed him on camera, and he couldn't do anything because they have an agreement. So to calm the waters a bit, Sang-suk gives them information on what company stocks they should invest in next. Unaware to them, someone is recording this whole conversation through a hole on the painting in the room. Outside the restaurant, all the assistants are having takeout. That's when Hee-chul sees the waiter sell a mysterious package to reporter Hee-wang, who runs away as soon as Hee-chul asks what is going on. Hee-wang escapes in his car before Hee-chul can take a picture of his plate. But at least he gets to see and memorize the number, and the waiter refuses to answer any questions. When the bosses hear about this, Sang-pyo promises to take care of it. The next day, while Sang-suk continues his campaign on the streets, Hee-wang finds his car hit by an employee of Sang-pyo's, who offers him a new, expensive car in exchange of his old one and the footage he took at the restaurant. This is enough to buy his silence, so Sang-suk is safe for now. In the evening, she returns to her humble apartment and talks to all the neighbors about their problems, but only because Hee-chul whispers reminders into her ear. She's welcomed home by her husband Bong Man-sik, who is wearing his badminton uniform and loudly comments on wanting to play. As soon as they enter the apartment though, all the masks are off. Man-sik is sick of pretending to be a player just because his wife needs the badminton club votes. Their chat is interrupted by a call from Man-sik's mother, which Sang-suk takes with her best manners before the couple leaves the apartment. They do this in a very unusual way. They dress all in black and hide their faces, then climb to the roof to leave through a back door where Hee-chul is waiting for them with the car. It turns out this humble apartment is also part of the campaign charade, and their real home is a very fancy house that includes a foreign maid that doesn't speak Korean. During dinner, Man-sik has a special list of requests for his wife, because he enjoys living off her money and power, not having to work for anything at all. Later in the middle of the night, Sang-suk gets an emergency call that makes her travel to the countryside while a storm is on the way. The person that has called her is Okay-hee, who is actually alive and hiding, so Sang-suk can keep on using her name as part of her sympathetic story. Okay-hee is sick of hiding, but Sang-suk reminds her that coming out clean would get them all arrested, so they must stick to the lie. She also thinks her after has lost the kindness she had when she was younger, but Sang-suk promises she hasn't before noticing a photograph of her grandmother with 2 friends. Sang-suk freaks out thinking Okay-hee has been in contact with old friends, and Okay-hee gets angry because all her granddaughter cares about is to keep up her cover instead of Okay-hee's happiness. It's already raining by the time Sang-suk leaves, and while waiting for Hee-chul to come with the car, she sees a prayers pile and decides to ask the gods to help her win the election. Back in the house, Okay-hee prays as well, asking the gods for Sang-suk to stop lying. At that moment, lightning hits the prayers pile. The next morning, when Sang-suk comes down for breakfast, Man-sik tells her his mother called, and she insults her without meaning to over and over, not understanding what's wrong with her mouth. A few hours later, the couple goes to a live stream interview with a host Hee-chul has already spoken to, so he wouldn't touch certain topics like the presidential election and R-rated jokes. However, as soon as the questions begin, Sang-suk continues not to control what she says and brings up those subjects herself, even admitting she and her husband haven't been intimate for years, and that she doesn't read the comments her followers send her. The same followers that are now wondering if she's drunk. Man-sik keeps on laughing, trying to make it look like she's joking. But the interview is a complete disaster. Sang-suk realizes she can't lie no matter the topic. After her husband leaves because she calls him an unemployed leech, she and Hee-chul go to a bookstore to do the presentation of her autobiography. But things keep getting worse there. She admits she didn't even read the book because a ghostwriter wrote it, that they paid off the reviews, and that a new bookstore in town is bad news for politicians because it helps people to be less dumb. Hee-chul follows Man-sik's idea and keeps on laughing to make it look like jokes. But Sang-suk gets too nervous and ends the presentation by freaking out and taking off her wig. Her weird behavior goes viral on the internet, and Jun-young decides this is the perfect moment to dig deeper into her story. In the evening, he goes to her apartment building to see if it's true that she lives there and is shocked to find her mailbox full of utility bills. Before he manages to put them back though, he can hear her and Hee-chul arriving, so he hides before they can find him. Hee-chul checks the mailbox before taking Sang-suk to her apartment, and as soon as they get into the elevator, Jun-young puts the bills back and runs away. When Hee-chul comes back down, he notices the mailbox is full now and immediately gets suspicious. So he runs out of the building and sees someone escaping on a car. This time he's ready to take pictures with a camera pen, but they're all blurry. So he checks the security camera on his car instead and sees Jun-young investigating the area. Moments later, Sang-suk and her husband go to their fancy house, where Man-sik's mother is waiting for them unannounced. Unable to lie, Sang-suk insults her and treats her cruelly, causing her to leave in tears. The curse is so bad and accurate that Sang-suk can't even show sympathy for Man-sik. She's actually super happy that the old hag won't visit for a while. The following day, Sang-suk goes to see a doctor, an acupuncturist and even a shaman, but none of them is able to help them. So Hee-chul decides to hire a campaign expert that has even helped presidents in the past, Lee Woon-hak. Woon-hak begins by calling some inside contacts of his and gets Sang-suk to appear with various important institutions as support, like soccer clubs and military. Then, they upload to the internet an embarrassing picture of Yong-sung to hurt his image. They also manipulate the most searched results online and clean all of their opponents' flyers to replace them with her own. Honesty isn't the only one of Sang-suk's problems, though. There's a car around town playing, and it speakers a speech about Sang-suk's son, who she gave birth to abroad for a second citizenship, and so he could avoid military service. But now he can't be found by prosecutors. To solve this problem, Man-sik travels abroad to find their son Bong Yoon-ho and bring him back to Korea to send him into military service. After forcing him to get a haircut, Sang-suk convinces him to join the military in exchange for a hefty payment, which Yoon-ho accepts. The next day, Woon-hak wants Sang-suk to give a press conference on her story about having a baby aboard. But Sang-suk explains she can't read that because it's a lie. She never gave birth to Yoon-ho. He's Man-sik's son with another woman. It's not just the matter of the lie. She doesn't want Yoon-ho to find out about this through a press conference. He may not have come out from her, but he's still her son. To avoid this issues with the impossible lie, Sang-suk spends the night in a freezing bath filled with ice cubes. So when the time for the conference comes, she passes out before she can finish that sentence. Sang-suk is sent to the hospital, where the TV is showing the latest news. The fact Yoon-ho isn't her biological son has somehow reached reporters' ears. When she's finally discharged, they're waiting for her outside, but she only tells them she won't be using her family as part of the campaign anymore. Some viewers decide to respect her for having raised a kid that isn't hers. Unaware that Jun-young is following her, she goes directly to the fancy house to check on his son's emotional state at hearing the news. but it turns out he's known since he was 8. Man-sik told him while he was drunk, and Sang-sok throws him in the swimming pool as punishment. Meanwhile, Jun-young secretly meets with Sang-sok's maid, who to speak Korean, after all, to see if he can get some secrets from the inside. Some days later, Sang-sok is doing a presentation at a theater by using carefully written true phrases about things she's already done for the city. Suddenly, she's interrupted by Jisun, who has shown up to accuse her of being in a business arrangement with the insurance company she once fought against. Sang-sok is about to confess this is true, and that she did it because they would invest in the company of her choice, when Heechul pretends to have seen a bomb, pushing Sang-sok out of the way and making everyone leave the theater. When they return home, the first thing they do is to get rid of all the gifts the insurance company ever got them. They will have to move out too, since this nice house is also being rented by them. Some time later, Sang-sok is glad to see she's back on first place in the polls. So Woon-hak shares the next step in his plan. Trying to be sweet again won't work, so Sang-sok is going to promote her image as the most honest politician in the country, with the help of Yoon-ho, who has written a catchy song about her. Sang-sok talks to the people and appears in debates discussing how corrupted the system is, which gains her people's sympathy. One afternoon, when they drive by the Aka Foundation, Sang-sok sees a woman camping at the entrance as a sign of protest because her son ended his life over low grades. Sang-sok wants to look into it, but Sang-pyo is given extract orders to ignore it. Meanwhile, Heechul takes Aka to a routine checkup because on her fake papers, he's her grandson, and he admits after all these years it does feel real. The doctor thinks Aka will die soon, but she doesn't listen, claiming they all have been telling her the same things for years now. Someone does end up talking to the woman protesting though, Jun-young, who then takes all the info he's obtained to analyze it with Yoon Kyung over dinner. They discover the Aka Foundation is corrupted to the core, and people can just pay more money to be admitted over others, instead of passing the exam, and to the not VIP students they would just give Fs. Jun-young exposes all this online during a mukbang stream, causing an instant scandal, while Sang-pyo begins getting rid of all the documents that may serve as proof of his involvement in the Aka Foundation. Aka herself takes a risk and goes Sang-sok to her office by keeping her face hidden. She's angry over what Sang-sok has done with her name, and in return, Sang-sok is angry that her grandmother is risking being caught. The two of them return to the prayers pile near Aka's house, unaware that Woon-hak is following them and now knows Aka is alive. Together the two women pray for Sang-sok to be able to lie again, but there are no signs they've been heard. Afterwards, Sang-sok goes to see Jun-young, who doesn't accept to stop digging and won't believe either that her intentions were good when she started. The next day, Woon-hak quits his position with her and goes to work with Yong-seung, who tells her he now knows her grandmother is alive and staying in one of the hospitals in the city. Sang-sok rushes to the clinic, and Ichul explains Aka passed out last night, and he didn't tell her not to worry her. He doesn't think the secret is in danger, because if Yong-seung had any real proof, he would have already gone to the news. Then, Sang-sok gives her grandmother a quick visit, crying when Aka shows her support for her campaign. Some time later, Sang-sok gives a speech on the street, but she barely has any audience. She admits having become rotten while at the same time, Aka is dying at hospital, making the prayers pile glow. After the speech, Sang-sok meets with Sang-pyo, who informs her he'll be backing Yong-seung instead now because if Sang-sok keeps opening her mouth, she'll bring them all down, so she should quit. While trying to convince him that's not the case, Sang-sok finds herself lying. But when she goes to tell her husband the great news, she's told about Aka's death. Man-sik and Sang-sok go to Aka's funeral, but they don't stay for long because they're still pretending she was Ichul's grandmother. But at least Sang-sok is relieved to see Aka's friends are coming over to say her goodbyes. Later, however, she and Heechul find themselves stopping Sang-pyo, Yong-seung and their bodyguards from getting closer to the body before cremating it because they want to identify it themselves, calling it evidence, because they don't know her curse is broken yet. Sang-sok reminds them she can't lie, and gives them her word that she'll step down from the election, impressing them when she says she respects them both. But Sang-sok still has a plan. The next day, Heechul goes to see Hwang to buy the original recording of the meeting at a very high price. On his way out, he takes the keys of the car he got as a bribe, and tries to use it to leave, but Sang Pyo's employee shows up to steal the pendrive from him. Heechul takes Hwang's older car to escape and picks up Sang Sok to hide her and the pendrive in the secret room at the Aka Foundation. Since they don't know, Heechul knows it exists. After reviewing the student admission paperwork and seeing how vile it is, Sang Sok leaves the hideout to apologize to the grieving mother that is still protesting at the building in trance. At that moment, she's found by Sang Pyo and Yang Seung, who are after the pendrive. Sang Sok leaves in the car Heechul left her, and the men begin chasing her through the city, which is easy because Sang Sok hasn't driven in years. Eventually, they corner her in a street that has been closed because of an accident. But luckily, Heechul and Man-sik arrive to help. While they fight the bodyguards, Sang Sok struggles against her former politician friends until she finally manages to get out and run back to the main street to get a taxi. After checking, the pendrive is safe where she hid it in her hair. She takes a moment to remember everything she's learned so far and comes to terms with what she has to do. She tells the taxi driver to take her to the TV station, where she hands the pendrive to Junyoung so he can have the big scoop. The next day, she offers a press conference only 2 people are attending, but when she's about to come clean and confess everything, the hall is suddenly flooded with reporters that want to know what kind of games she's been playing. It turns out Hwang got the pendrives mixed, and instead of giving Heechul the one with the dinner Sang Sok had with her opponent, he gave him the most expensive one in his collection, a compilation of videos that incriminate various congressmen and criminal activities that go from harassment and gambling to urinating in public. After visiting her grandmother properly though, Sang Sok still does the right thing and gives herself up for investigation even if she wasn't in those videos. 2 years later, Sang Sok is released from jail and is making money from the book she's written about her experience. Her husband and son live with her in a small apartment and still expect her to pay for everything. But Sang Sok has learned her lesson and continues to be brutally honest. So after telling the 2 men to get jobs, she goes to the TV station to have her first debate as a comeback into a political career. She scolds Heechul for telling her not to touch certain subjects and the host for not being neutral, then gets ready to drop some truth bombs. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more.